Hey everybody, it's Sarah Hauer Nelson with the Humor in Chaos podcast. I am a resilience coach, a certified life coach, and a certified art therapy practitioner. And in today's podcast, I want to talk about from my book, blog post number 7, which is this: What does God want from me? Now, in this particular chapter, there's a couple things that I want to talk about. First of all, I want to talk specifically to women, um, young, middle-aged, old, specifically to women, at first. And then I want to talk about, well, essentially about denial. So, because joy should not be a cover over excuse for actually living in denial of problems. So hopefully I remember to talk about that, because if I forget to talk about this, I'm not going to be happy with myself. Which brings me back to my first point of talking to the women. So what does God want from me? So having been sick for all those years, and then, having my then husband, leave and divorce me, which was extraordinarily painful. Much of that was because I was goofing up on my priorities. As I've said in other times and places, I can't remember if I have said that in this podcast or not, but I have before plenty of times. My biggest problem, um, my biggest issue, I had other issues too, but my biggest issue was that I put my then husband and my marriage above my God. And as a Christian, that's a big no-no. You don't put anyone or anything above God if you're a Christian. That's just, you don't do that. When you do that, everything falls apart, and everything fell apart. And the reason I did it, as I said, in the previous blog post from, or podcast episode from 2 weeks ago, um, um, what was I saying? I'm having a little bit of a lupus problem this week. My brain isn't always on. Uh, See, this is an actual issue. I'm having one right now, and here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to turn around and delete this and record this, because I want you all to see that I'm still dealing with problems. And so what just happened was that my brain just stopped turning. And I know, yes, I'm in menopause too, so I've got double duty. I've got menopausal brain fog, but I also have lupus brain fog. And I'm going to take this quick moment to say what I have discovered is the difference between the menopausal brain fog and the lupus brain fog. So the menopausal brain fog is, like when you walk into a room and you can't remember why you walked into the room. Your mind, though, is still turning and turning. Like right now, I just had that huge pause, but my mind is still turning and turning because I'm trying to find the right word. Or you entered that room and your mind is turning and turning because you're trying to remember why you walked into that room. What did I go into this room for? What did I come to get? What did I come to do? And you can't remember, but your brain is turning and turning. That's perimenopausal, menopausal brain fog. This is what I've discovered that's different about lupus brain fog or fibromyalgia brain fog. I'll go in a room to go do something, and for a brief moment, I don't even know what room I'm in. And my mind is not turning at all. I don't even realize I've forgotten something. It's just, the brain just doesn't turn. The worst event I ever had with the lupus brain fog, and what does it have to do with this? It actually does have to do with it. The worst time I ever had with the lupus brain fog is I was driving my son, who's or was, he doesn't do it anymore, but he was an actor. And he was in a play in a local community theater. And I had driven him back and forth between home and the community theater multiple times, because even though he was 16 years old at the time, he did not yet have his driver's license. He didn't even have his permit, nothing. He hadn't studied yet. He hadn't taken the test, nothing. He was so busy with life, he was planning on waiting and not getting it until 18, before college. That was his plan, which I was fine with. no problem, because he was extremely busy, and so was I. Well, and I was very sick at the time too. So I had gone to pick him up from the theater. Rehearsal was over, and we were driving back home. And I got lost on the way home, a route I had taken over and over and over again. And I started to panic, and I had to pull over and go, oh my God, where am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And I had to get my bearings. Now, at this point, I knew that I was trying to take us home. But I got back on course, and within just a couple of blocks later, I got lost again. Okay, that's bad. Now, here's the thing. So I pulled over so I could figure out again where I was and where I was going. But here's the thing. The second time I got lost for a brief moment, I couldn't even remember why I was in the car anyway. Okay. So got lost twice on the way home within just a couple of blocks of each other. And the second time, I didn't even know where I had been or what my destination was. I was just entirely lost, and the brain just wasn't even functioning there for a little bit. And I had to sit there a little bit. And the only thing I really remember from when my brain started turning on again was hearing my son sitting next to me say, well, I guess I am getting my license, which he then did too. He went and got his driver's license. Now, thankfully, my lupus got better, and I don't have those amazing bouts of that lupus brain fog. Um, if I ever do, I'm going to have to, ground myself. It's been a long time though, and I'm much better. But there is a significant difference between normal hormonal brain fog and disease brain fog. It's tremendously different. Anyway, back to this. What does God want from me? And here's why this matters. I had options there. And actually, I'm going to bring together the concept of denial right away. I could have, and to some degree I was battling my way out of a state of denial. Now, what was I in denial in? At that time, I did not yet know that my marriage was in trouble, but my health was very much in trouble, and that I did know. I was actively seeing doctors like crazy, going through medical tests like crazy. I did have a proper diagnosis finally by that time, but I was still in denial of the severity, and I was not clinically depressed, but I was depressed. I had very bad feelings about the fact that I could not handle my role as a wife and a mother, which, as I pointed out to you, my biggest mistake was I put my role of wife ahead of my role with God. My husband and my marriage came first when they should not have. And so I was in denial of how my marriage was falling apart. And stress that causes tremendous stress, and stress does aggravate autoimmune diseases and other illnesses, even cancers and stuff. And people say, well, it causes that. I dispute the cause because I also have the genetic factors for lupus. Okay. Stress did not cause my lupus. Stress definitely played a significant role in turning on those genes. And it is up to me to turn off those genes. And yes, it can be done. Again, it's hard, but it's possible. So what I want to say is, in the title of this blog post being, what does God want from me? Well, God wants us, to put him first. So yes, this blog post is more for the Christian women, but doesn't have to be. You can still get stuff out of this. So he wants us to put him first. B, and here's the thing that in my studies, biblical studies, I'd heard this multiple times, but it finally hit home. And that is where in Matthew it says, the second great commandment, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So not only should I not have been putting my then husband ahead of God, but I also should not have been putting my then husband and my children and anyone else in my life ahead of me. It should have been God first and then me and everybody else. Me and everybody else. I should not have been taking care of everybody else before taking care of myself. We very much have lived for, I don't know for how long, depending on who you talk to, you could say decades, you could say forever since Adam and Eve, you could say from since the beginning of humans walking the earth, or you can say just since the Industrial Revolution. It depends on what experts you are talking to. But for a long time, women have been programmed to put everyone else's needs ahead of their own. Not only is that bad for our health and our mental well-being and emotional well-being, it's also not even biblical. And people are going to go, oh! And I'm not just taking it from this one verse. If you really, really read the Bible, it is not that women are last. We're not supposed to put ourselves last. We're supposed to love each other, ourselves, and each other the same. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. It's supposed to be in balance. I did not take enough time to care for myself the years that I was healthy. I ran myself ragged trying to take care of the kids, trying to get my then husband's needs met, trying to take care of the house. If I worked odd jobs to help pay bills, I did that. Anything he needed me to do, I tried to do any way he wanted me to be. I twisted myself up into a pretzel to be what he wanted me to be. And I did all that. And I don't even want to say it was miserable because it wasn't, because for a long time I was very healthy, or not healthy, happy about that. I was joyful. I was joyful, but I was in denial about the damage I was doing to myself. Uh-huh. um, and when we do this and things start to fall apart, because if we do that, things will fall apart eventually. I mean, like I said, for a long time, things were great, but eventually they were not. Things will fall apart when we don't have our priorities lined up. And I actually like, it's Wayne Dwyer said this when he was alive. And I don't think I put it in here at all, but Wayne Dwyer said it very well. He said, if somebody needs an orange and you want to give them an orange, you can't give them an orange if you don't have an orange yourself. It's really that simple. That's the oxygen mask analogy that I love to say all the time. And I don't know, I don't remember where I got it from. It just popped into my head one time, and now it's all I hear. People say this all the time, the oxygen mask analogy in the airplane, which I think I even have another blog post about it. You can't give oxygen to somebody else if you don't have oxygen for yourself, so you can think and do what needs to be done to save somebody else. You have to save yourself first, because people say that. They think, oh, I'm a bad parent if I put the oxygen mask on myself first before I put it on my child. No, you're a good parent if you put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then put it on your child, because if you don't and you lose consciousness and you haven't got that mask on your child yet, you'll both die. That's a fact. And you know how I know that? Because my ex-husband, who last I heard was in the medical field, but before that, he was an engineer in the aerospace technology. And he talked to me about the safety of airplanes and stuff like that, and evacuating flights, and that people fail to realize, and I should have a blog about this and an analogy for this, but people fail to realize that you really should wear your seatbelt on the airplane. Only take it off if you must get up and walk around the plane. If you don't have to, sit down and put on the seatbelt. They really do save lives in crashes, because oftentimes people can survive crashes if they've been buckled in, and then they can get out in an orderly fashion. I know that seems pointless or contrary, but he showed me the stats. It's true. Um, anyway, I'll get off of that. But yeah, we as women, and we need to teach our daughters and our upcoming generations better, and we need to learn better, and we need to change ourselves better this way. And we need to uplift ourselves and each other better in this regard. We must take more time for ourselves. We must for our self-care. We must care as much for ourselves as we care for the rest of those in our lives. We must learn to say no to things when we want to say no to things without giving an explanation. No is a complete sentence. I hear this everywhere too, and I used to say it once I started, when the light started coming on in my brain. No is a complete sentence. I don't owe anyone an explanation. Now, denial. I want to talk a little bit more about denial because a lot of people think that trying to live with gratitude and searching for joy when you're going through stuff is living in denial. No. If you are using the attempts to be joyful and have gratitude to cover up problems, that is denial. Denial is disaster. It is not about being in denial about problems. As I said, this past week, this was the first decent day I've had this week. I've had pain this week. If I had tried to live in denial that I have an ongoing health issue, what would I have done? I either would have sat around and done absolutely nothing and then made myself feel depressed because then I would have felt like a failure because I didn't get anything done because I'm trying to deny that I have a health problem. Or I could have gone the other way and I could have been pushing myself too hard to get out and do things that my body was not capable of doing on those days. Both of those are two extremes. Both of those come from denial. Both of those are dangerous. It's coming in the middle and finding the right balance between the two. Okay. I had to give myself the grace to give my body time to rest while reminding myself that if there were little things I could do, which I did some little things here and there, just itty bitty things. If there were little things I could do, great. And if I couldn't, oh, well, I'll get to them. My state of joy had nothing to do with the fact that I was in pain, even though pain sucks. And I don't want anybody to say I'm denying that I'm in pain and I'm just trying to ignore it, pretend it'll go away, or I'm just over medicating it so it just goes away and now I'm not in a good state of mind. No, neither. That's another two ends of the spectrum. Denying that there are issues, ignoring them, or even focusing too hard on them. Both of those are problems. Searching for joy in the midst of severe issues takes grit and determination. And I say this in the blog post right here. Where did I put it? I opened the wrong page. Grit and determination are some of the stones that line the pathway to joy. Real smiles happen as the stones are moved out of the way because they are no longer needed. And what I'm really talking about is facing adversity. And adversity can come in multiple different forms. But when adversity has to be faced, it has to be faced. It just doesn't necessarily have to be faced with ruminating too much in one direction or the other. Rumination is what's really the bad state of being here. It's either focusing too much on what's wrong, therefore freezing and doing nothing, or it's ruminating too much in the other direction and just trying to live life like the problem doesn't exist, like ignoring it will make it go away. Neither one works. If there are still stones in the way, you have to be like the huge tree that moves them, breaks up the concrete, and shoves it aside. You keep growing anyway, even though the stone is there. You face it, you work with it, you loosen it up, you move it out of the way. Doesn't mean it's gone. Just means you've got it handled. And, a new stone could show up, or lo and behold, somehow somebody's added more concrete. That can happen. Doesn't change what you have to do. Doesn't change what I have to do. Anyway, I hope that helps. Because yeah, overall, this chapter, this blog post is about, making sure that you've got your priorities straight, and particularly you've got your priority straight on yourself of where it needs to be. So anyway, thank you for joining me on the Humor and Chaos podcast today. You guys have a wonderful day. Make sure that you're doing something to take care of yourself in the right way, with the right balance, with your priorities in the correct order. And if you don't think you have them in the correct order, shoot me an email at humorinchaos@gmail.com and we can talk about it. We can do that. Anyway, and if you know anybody who'd be a great guest on this podcast, also shoot me an email for that, or find me on my website, www.humorinchaos.com. I'm Sarah Hauer Nelson, resilience coach, certified life coach, certified art therapy practitioner. I just can't remember if I said this at the beginning. I'm supposed to say it at every one of them. And you go, have a wonderful day.